Hey, and welcome to Rapid Flow. At Rapid Flow, we do everything we can to make you much faster in the studio. Today, I'm going to be showing you something that's been requested a lot on my channel, which is how have we set up these controllers to be able to interface with music in real time, both in the studio and on stage. And make sure you stick around till the end of this video, because I'm going to be sharing with you also how you configure these devices so that you don't have to go through all the manual media assignment of CCs and all the technical nightmare that I'm sure you want nothing to do with. Before we start, if you'll allow me just a little plug, you can buy the template I'm going to be demoing for you today with these controllers on rapidflow.shop. Everything you're going to hear today is part of that template, and we have templates starting already at $39. Let me show you just how powerful it is. So as you could see, I'm able to basically control everything that's going to happen in this set in real time using this controller. And one of the core things about this is the way this is set up, it's one knob per function. So as you can see, a lot of the stuff on here is labeled. That means if I'm on stage or if I'm working in the studio, I know exactly what I'm grabbing for and I don't have to think about it. And this is a very important first detail if you're using Ableton. When you set up your controllers, please make sure to check the checkbox here which says remote. If you see the APC and the MIDI mix, they both have this remote setting enabled. That means that now these devices will no longer try to grab things in an intelligent way, but they're just like dumb MIDI controllers that just have one fixed CC. And I'm going to show you how to assign CCs so that these two things don't clash, because actually as they come from the factory, they share certain CCs, which means you can't use all the knobs. I'm going to share with you at the end of the video how to do that. Now, a lot of you may say, hey, that's really cool, but the APC-40 Mark II, it's like unobtainium. I know, it's such a shame. Akai in music, if you're watching this video, please bring back the APC-40 Mark II. The second-hand prices have gone insane. It's such a great controller for Ableton. The APC-64 you brought back does not cut it. It's not good enough to do this kind of stuff. And if you don't do it, I think there's a company that starts with a B that very likely will. Currently, there are devices on the market available easily that you can do this setup with. I would recommend you to get the APC Mini Mark II and the Mini Mix, which is what I'm using. If you want to just start out simple and low cost, I would recommend only the Mini Mix, and I would of course recommend our template, which is the smallest template. It's the Rapid Flow template. With that, you're able to replicate everything that I'm doing today. You can also go the way of Novation, also super cool company that I actually used to represent, but I haven't tested this myself. Because I started on the APC-40 Mark II, I extended it with the MIDI mix. So this, I can tell you, this is what I know works. Okay, so one knob per function. How is this set up? Let me take you back here so I can show you with a bit more detail. As you can see here, all the faders have assigned a certain channel, and then there's also things going on here, right? So for now, let's just focus only on the APC-40 Mark II. If you are not able to get one of those, you would be able to do everything you can that I'm showing you using just a MIDI mix, except you would need a separate clip launcher if you want to not have to launch clips with your mouse, which is why I recommend the Mini APC. So focusing just on the APC-40 Mark II, how is this set up? As I showed you, the remote thing has to be checked, and now all these faders can be hard assigned, as all of these rotaries, to one thing in Ableton. Just on the odd chance that you may not know how to do this, it's very easy. You go into Ableton, you hit, Apple M, and then you'll be able to assign a MIDI controller to something in our template. This is all very easy to set up because we're using macros. Basically, you hit Control M. I can erase this now and click it, and as you can see, it's assigned, right? That's how I went through the whole template and assigned everything. And if you're starting with just one controller, what I would recommend you to do is to follow this assignment setup, which is have your first track only for drums. Everything that's a drum sound, just put it in a rack, and you can select which drums are playing by creating new clips that will either trigger just the kick drum plus hi-hat, kick drum plus hi-hat and snares, etc. And that way you can progress through your set and trigger the right amount of drums. Next track, I would recommend you bass. And next tracks, the tracks following that, all 5 of them, I would recommend you melodic harmonic elements. So in my case, I'm using harmonies, melodies, hooks, pads, and then I have one fader which is assigned to atmosphere. So like background noises and sounds that make tracks more immersive. The master fader, I would absolutely remove it from the master fader function, because having that on stage is super useless. Either you'll make everything clip, or all of a sudden things will get very soft and it may take you a little while to figure out why. So just assign that to something that is useful for you, maybe during your production, or maybe an additional channel, like for example a vocal is nice to have individual control of. So that's your faders. The knobs at the top here are no longer pans, which is super useless if you're making electronic music, in my opinion. These control our so-called super channel effects. Let me show you what those look like. Right here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see this a bit better while we're doing this. Right here is my high cut filter, which you can see getting activated. Right? The first one is a low cut. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's like a washout with which you can really easily build breaks. As you probably hear, the washout is going to like a sidechain reverb at the end, so that it has like kind of an interesting thing when you go back to the track. There's a normal reverb and there's various delays. And then this one is really interesting. This adjusts the decay of the hi-hats in the track, because you can use those also to build up energy, but also you want to be able to adjust the decay of the hi-hats so that they fit the groove and vibe of your track. Let me show you. Yeah, and this is all set up in a specific way in the drum rack that we have. Yeah, check it out. Like I said, it's on rapidflow.shop. Then we come to these rotaries. I realized at a certain point I wasn't happy to just have a high cut on everything, and I wanted to be able to actually also affect these individual sounds while I'm producing and also while I'm on stage. So what I did is I assigned all of these to fixed high cut filters on the main 8 channels that are assigned on the APC. So this means that, for example, if I feel my snare is too up front in the track, it's really easy for me to take it down a little bit. Let me show you. So that's my snare high cut. Listen. Same with all the melodic elements. Same with the bass. Same with the kick. So you see how easy it was for me to like take the energy of the track down and up. So it's super useful while you're producing. Sometimes you don't want your kick to be punching super hard in the mids when you're like hours in the studio, because it's going to impact your hearing. So I often take the bass and the kick down a little bit in the mids and the highs so I can focus on the melodic stuff. But it's also super powerful on stage. So this is like a super nice function because this has so many controls. Now, if you're doing this with the smaller APC, like a MIDI mix, you could replicate this by cleverly routing these rotary controls. So I would also keep these first 8 here as high cuts on the channels that you have routed there, and I would use the top for the live performance effects, and then these in the middle you can freely assign to whatever is useful in your case. So that's the way this is set up. There's one more thing which is the crossfader, is assigned to our referencing workflow. In the template, I have a whole workflow for that where you can put reference tracks in a certain place and listen at equal value to what you're producing, so at equal loudness. When I'm working myself, I like to use a track from Adapter AB, from my plugin alliance called Adapter AB, which basically lets me put in any track and listen to it and also analyze it on the spectrum analyzer in a really cool way. So this is something that I'm going to show you quickly that I've set up to work with the crossfader. Check it out. I have a track loaded in the background. I'm going to bring up the loudness and frequencies on the track that I'm working on now in production. So now you can see that I'm able to reference the frequency and loudness of the reference track to the track that I have in production, which is super useful when you're in the studio, and actually something I would absolutely recommend you do. I can also check the dynamics to see if the track that I'm working on is too squashed, and as you can hear, I'm listening to my track in production as loud as a released track that was professionally mastering, and that is because I'm using a really great mastering chain on this project. This is something we did in collaboration with Earthbound Mastering, mastering studio out of Sweden, ran by Daniel Söderberg. I have a separate video showing you this master chain. I'm going to link it and put it in the description. But yeah, in essence, the reason why this all already sounds like a finished track is mostly to do with the mastering chain and the way the template is set up. So as you can see, I'm able to analyze everything from a visual point of view, but I'm also able to skip between both of them using the crossfader here. Let me show you. In essence, you could see I'm able to switch between A side or B side on Plugin Alliance Adapter to be able to check how my track in production sounds to a reference track. So that's what's set up here. Super, super useful, really fast way. Of course, you launch your clips here, which is really practical when you're playing live or when you're jumping between scenes on your mixer. Now, this so far has been, let's say, the like basic way of using this, of starting with this. And I know it's pretty advanced, maybe if you're new to all this. If you want to dive into the details, I explain how to do this in much more detail in the videos that accompany the Rapid Flow template and the Infinity Bundle. So where are we here? Am I missing anything? No, I think this is all the most important stuff that I wanted to show you. Okay, so that's it for the basic workflow now. If you want to go all in, or if you're a more advanced producer and you want to actually have more control of your track than having all your drums on one fader, this is part 2 now, where I'm going to show you how to actually do this using 2 controllers. So this is how I personally play live, and also how my whole setup in the studio is set up. The beauty of this system is that it's the same. Whether you're producing or whether you're playing live, it's always the same controllers, it's always the same project. So if you finish the track in the afternoon, you could play it that night because of the mastering chain and how flexible and powerful this setup is. So now we're going to look in depth at how I have this set up for my own productions. I have a kick drum fader. I have a bassline fader. I have a snare dedicated. I have a harmonic element, a melodic element, a hook, a pad, an atmospheric sound, and then this master fader has just recently become a piano. I haven't labeled it yet, but that's just what I've done. So as you can see, I have the core rhythm elements here, and then I have all the melodic, harmonic, complex elements here. On a hook, for example, I would also place a vocal, for example, on that channel. Let me get rid of this quickly so I can give you a bit more screen space here. So as you can see here, those are the channels that are related to those faders on the APC. Let me show you. Okay. Back here is further faders and channels that I've assigned from the Infinity Bundle. So for example, the snare fader is assigned here, and I'm able to control it just here. Okay, then the second part is the faders that come up on this little device here. And basically this is something that I learned watching a Ben Burmer masterclass. He has all his drums and percussive elements on one little side mixer. I think he even uses the MIDI mix. I think that's where I got the idea. So danke Ben, super cool, sehr nice masterclass. So what I've done here is I have a hi-hat up, a hi-hat open, a hi-hat 16th. And with those, I'm able to create all kinds of hi-hat grooves. They're individual tracks in the template. In my case, that's how I'm using it. Then I have a percussions track where any percussion loops will go. Then I have a groove track, which is basically where I put all my toms, anything that adds to the groove, the basic groove of the track. Then I have a fader called Extra, which is one of the most useful faders you can have because everything comes together here. That's not something that you can easily drop somewhere on the template and be like, oh yeah, I know exactly where I want to put that. If I don't know where to put it, it comes on the Extra fader. I have a dedicated fader for vocals. I have a dedicated fader for breakbeats. And then I have a loop cloud fader, which is more when I'm producing, so that I can quickly grab the loudness of some loop coming off of loop cloud, because yeah, the difference in levels are horrific. I've just realized it may be a little bit easier if I do this. Okay, so now you're able to actually read, hopefully, a bit better what's happening here. So that is the essence of the workflow. Now, I could also assign like high cuts here and all kinds of other stuff. Some parts of my live set are actually also based on tracks that are already done. So these two have double functions. So I have like a high cut, a mids, and a low cut. So I can mix the ready tracks into the live set like a DJ style mixer. You know, you can be super flexible with this. But that is the essence of how all of this is set up. So let me give you a quick demo. And one small little detail that I haven't shown you yet is you'll see at the back of the APC here, there's a foot switch inserted. And that foot switch is also routed to the effects channel, like the live performance, the DJ type effects of the super channel, so that when I've built up an insanely massive, like, you know, drop with all kinds of the live performance effects, and I need to get back to the basic track, I can just push this little foot switch that's down here. Hang on a second. Can I show this to you a bit better? Here we go. This little foot switch, and it'll bypass everything that's going on there, but with a nice kind of like reverb and delay fade out, so that I can get back to the track, and then I have time to actually bring these rotaries back after the one, basically. Okay, so let me show you just how fun and easy it is to use this and to build up like a vibe and a mood of a track with it. As you can see, it's really easy for me to build up things, take things back, and of course I use this live, but I also use this in the studio. And this is the last thing I want to show you. Of course, you can record everything that you've just seen. So if I switch Ableton to my sequencing view, I'm able to record all those moves in real time. And the cool thing is, this allows me to build up a track sketch, an idea very like intuitively using this controller and just bringing things in and out where I think it feels right. This is also part of our workflow with the Rapid Flow template and the Infinity bundle, is that you're able to start out your track sequence in a way that's based off of your intuition and your feeling, and it's super fast. It's so much faster, of course, than moving blocks around the screens. So what I can do now is go to my arrange view and hit record in my arrange view and just get going. think you get the idea. And the cool thing is now I have this sequence attempt, and obviously, you know, this doesn't always work out, but when you get it right, it's so satisfying because I've now in real time written a ton of automation. I've made all kinds of experiments with building things in and out, and you can do this on the fly really fast. And of course, you can now go in and optimize things. And if you didn't quite get the kick in on the one, you can fix those kinds of things. It's a super, super fast and fun workflow, and it just makes being in the studio feel more like making music than playing Tetris or, like, I don't know, Excel. Sometimes when you're moving blocks around the screen, that's what it can feel like. So that's the essence of this workflow. I hope that it's been cool for you to see. I'm going to show you now the final detail, the final ingredient of all of this is I use a Console 1. I used to work for Softube. It's a long time ago, but you know, I know their stuff, and I have basically a Console 1 inserted on every channel. And what I'm able to do with that is, if I show you here now, for example, on the bass, you know how I was able to cut the high frequencies on it? I've just mapped basically what this rotary encoder does on the Console 1. I've mapped it to my APC. So if you look on the APC here, it's doing exactly what that one rotary encoder does. And I realized having a high cut on all your channels, all the main instruments, is super useful, as I showed you before. But yeah, you could go crazy here and map all kinds of other stuff. If you want to learn more about which Softube plugins I recommend, I did a review of the 5 most underrated Softube plugins, including everything that I use all the time. I'll link that also and put a description in the video. Put a video in the description, there we go. Okay, so then the very final thing that I promised you is how do you set up this combination of either one MIDI mix and an APC40 Mark II or 2 MIDI mixes? Well, there is a software on the Akai website which is called MIDI Mix Editor. Okay, so here you go, MIDI Mix Editor for Mac and for PC. You can just download this on the website of Akai, and I'm going to put in the description of this a link to my Dropbox where you can pull a file that you can just load into the software, flash the memory of your MIDI mix, and from that point on, it's no longer going to clash with the assignments in the APC40. It's just going to be using its own dedicated MIDI CCs. Now, if you were to get 2 MIDI mixes, if that's the way you want to go, or if you get the other APC Mini, then of course you need to check what is the MIDI CCs that the APC Mini is using, and then set the MIDI mix ones to different ones so that you don't get double things on your screen. You'll see it very quickly when you start assigning stuff. If something is double, then you know 2 rotaries will move the same parameter. Okay, wow, this was a lot. I did try to get through this quickly, but yeah, there's a lot to distill here. As I said, this is a workflow that took me years and years and years to make. You can do all of this stuff if you have time for it, of course, just using Ableton, Bitwig, FL Studio Logic, which are actually the DAWs that we also do offer this for as a product. The basic template is $39 right now. The Infinity Bundle, which has a ton of samples taken from gear in our studio and processed with all of this really nice outboard, so you get like a super pro loud sound off the get-go. That's on sale right now for $99. And yeah, obviously just making this template is going to take probably the better part of a couple of days, if not a week. So it'll save you a ton of time if you want to grab that. The Infinity Bundle is the fastest way that I have ever come across for producing. I recently did an album in 5 days using the Infinity Bundle and being here in the studio just locked in. It was a really fun thing that I live streamed. I'm going to share a video link to a video where I also explained how I was able to work so quickly using all of this. But yeah, that's it. That is the essence of what we do with our template and how we interface with all these controllers. I'm going to have a little bit more fun with this template and just play this track. And yeah, I hope that this video has been useful for you. If you have questions, put them in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.